As the big loser in our Super Bowl proxy bets, I just got to ask you, what are you going to do with that money?
Go straight to Vegas, baby. Putting it all on black.
All on black. Well, that sounds good.
Maybe not. Maybe not quite yet.
Okay, all right. This episode of Extra Points, we're going to start off with a little rehashing of the Super Bowl, and the obvious question on everyone's mind is, what was Pete Carroll thinking?
Right, and we'll transition into some girls' high school basketball. We got just the last couple of weeks here of the regular season before conference champs are crowned and we start tournament play.
And we will wrap up with a look at the postseason getting underway in wrestling and swim. That all coming up on Extra Points.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Extra Points. It's the Gazette Extra version of our little TV show, just to keep people up to date with local sports,
like
high
killing
school
20 minutes of your day with some extra points.
And hopefully you've survived the Super Bowl hangover and
the blizzard of
shaved off all those
2015.
carbs and shoveled your way out of your driveway. I'm
Yes.
Gazette sports editor Eric Schmoltz alongside sports writer John Barry. And we'll just start right there with a little Super Bowl. Maybe we should just rehash here. I know that people have been anxiously awaiting what
Our
the
prop
results
bets,
were.
yes.
These prop
I was
bets.
not, but you were.
We had the longest field goal made, and you thought there was going to be like a 50-yarder
I
or something.
thought somebody indoors would hit something from
27.
farther than 27 yards.
Yeah.
I could kick a 27-yard field
Not
goal.
good for you there. But you did have the other kicker one. You thought Stephen Hauschka would make more points than Stephen Gostkowski. That was 6-4.
Well, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
I had the
so
first
that's good.
team penalized, Seattle, with a false start there in the second quarter. You had the over on the national anthem. You must have had some inside
Seemed like
info
it was
there.
a lot longer. 2:04 it was?
Yeah, 5
I
somewhere
thought
in
it was
there.
about 10 minutes.
And
it
of
seemed
course, I had Gronk scoring the touchdown.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need to remember this, but who'd you have again?
I had Seattle
That's
winning.
right.
That's
Okay.
right. Thank
That's
you,
right.
Pete Carroll,
Yeah.
for that. Thanks for that great play calling at the end when you should have won the game and didn't. But no, that's obviously what everyone's talking about is 2nd and 1 at the 1-yard line, time running down, less than 30 seconds. You've got Marshawn Lynch, probably the most powerful bruising, if I need a yard, I'm going to give it to him guy in the NFL. And okay, I can deal with the pass calling. If you slant a guy in the corner of the end zone and throw it to him, if he doesn't catch it, it goes out of bounds. But to throw a pass over the middle with 6 defensive linemen on the field with hands waving and guys running around, I don't get it. I don't understand the play call. I never will. And if I was a Seattle fan, I would be furious.
Yeah, I think a lot of them, even still a few days later, are probably regretting that one. Could have just ran it again. They had a timeout. They had timeout to spare. He stood by the call and
He
said
did.
it was his. I guess good on him for that, but probably the weirdest play call in Super Bowl history.
Incredible.
And here we are talking about the Patriots winning. Even Tom Brady said, no, I was on the sideline trying to figure out how much time you're
I
going to
mean,
have
a
left
part
to
of
go
me
back
thought
down.
Belichick might actually let him score just so they had time left plus a couple of timeouts to give Brady time to go down the field. But
I thought they should have let him score on that first run by Lynch because
I
when he got
agree.
like 9 yards, and I was like, well, you just might as well let him in at that point. Then you
I
have
agree.
a minute for Brady to go
think
down.
I'm still in a state of shock, and I was in a state of shock after the Packers-Seattle game. So back-to-back games the Seahawks played in that the results weren't anything like I thought they were going to be.
Pretty fun playoffs, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you had the Lions arguably should have beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys could have beat the Packers. The
Ravens
Packers
should have beat the Patriots.
I mean,
it was crazy, and hats off to Brady and Belichick. Hopefully, the Deflategate, forget about that. That had no bearing on the Patriots winning the Super Bowl. If you want to blame anybody, blame Pete Carroll for a horrendous play call with the season and legacy on the line. Let's face it, if Wilson and Carroll don't win another Super Bowl, even though they won one, what are you going to remember them for? The end of the Super Bowl 49 when they botched it and gave the game away.
How about the Tom Brady legacy? 4 rings now, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, he's had a long career.
I can't put him up with Montana. Montana to me
Well,
is
your
still,
wife would kill you.
Yeah,
if you
she
did.
would kill me. But I mean, is he as good as Bradshaw? Certainly. I mean, they 4 Super Bowl rings, enough said, Hall of Fame. But I think most people will tell you if they're going to start a roster of all time, I think Elway or Montana is probably the first quarterback still chosen, and then you kind of go.
I think you have to have Brady in that discussion.
Oh, you
though, at
do.
this point.
There's no doubt about it. I just, he didn't have a great game. He threw a couple of silly passes that he admitted that were poor throws. And when you think back to Montana, you just think, he was always spot on. He was always like 23 for 28 with no interceptions and 2 or 3 touchdowns, and he just really managed the game well. And hats off to Brady. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He got the team down there. They scored. But, again, I can't put him at the same level as Montana, but you certainly can't detract from what he's done.
What about Brett Favre?
Well, Brett Favre was different. You know, he was a go for broke kind of guy, and Brady kind of plays it by the, you know, he plays it by the book. And they're different players, certainly, but, you know, Favre, Rodgers, I mean, Rodgers, you would like to think would be up in that category at some point, give a couple more Super Bowls down the road. But, you know, right now, let's face it, Brady, Bradshaw, and Montana are probably considered your 3 greatest quarterbacks because they have 4 Super Bowl rings.
I think the discussion got a little more interesting with that. I mean, obviously people are still going to want to argue with Favre and Manning, and
Yep.
I mean, you can include Steve Young in there.
Dan Marino.
There's Marino. You can go back to Otto Graham if you really want.
You can. Y.A. Tittle if you want to go back that far, but I don't want to go back that far. No, I don't remember Y.A. Tittle. So.
How about I put you on the spot here a little bit? Your way too soon Super Bowl pick for next year.
For next season, my way too soon pick. Gosh, I like the Packers if Rodgers is healthy and things happen, but obviously they've got to make some adjustments, and certainly, you know, New England's got to go into the season as a favorite, but, you know, Manning, I think, will come back. Denver's going to be in the mix. The AFC is pretty much a 2-team race, I think, with New England and Denver. The NFC, I think, is a little different.
I don't know about that because, you know, you don't really, Manning hasn't really said for sure he's coming
back.
No. You don't know where he's at health-wise.
And I think the NFC, at least Green Bay, Seattle, you know, possibly Dallas, at least there's other teams in the mix. But if I had to put money on it right now, I would probably go Green Bay and New England next year.
I'm going to take the Colts.
Colts
okay.
to
win it all. I don't know who's coming out of the NFC. It's just too soon for me to go there. But all right,
we're done.
Super Bowl.
Football's over with after 9 months.
Let's delve a little into the high school girls basketball scene. There's, you know, 4, 5, 6 games left in the conference season, depending on what league you're playing in. Let's kind of break them down a little bit, and we'll start right here in town, the Big 8. You were there to see Craig's only loss against Verona about a week and a half ago now. What do you see from them, and do you like them to hold off the rest of the suitors? They're at 12-1, Verona at 10-2, Middleton at 10-2, so they've got a game and a half lead going into tonight. Big slate of games.
Verona and Middleton play each other at some point the rest of the year. So
that's February 10th.
February 10th, so that's coming up. So obviously the loser of that game probably falls out of the conference race. For the Cougars, you know, I think with Middleton ending the season at Craig, certainly a huge game. You know, Craig's 2 losses have been to teams with size, and we said coming into the season, what's going to hurt them is height, and that's what's hurt them in their 2 losses, both to Pius and the other one to Verona. So as they get to the next level and get into the tournament, you know, he's going to have to find a way to, you know, defeat a team that's going to be bigger than them, and the way to do that is to hit outside shots, and if they're not making them, they're going to struggle, and so it comes down to shooting for Craig. Their defense is solid. Al Hughes and Schoenberger have been dynamite. But again, they've got to be able to shoot the ball.
You never know in the tournament, though. They might not run into a team of size. You know, maybe until late.
Yeah, exactly. And if it gets to the sectional final and it's Verona, they beat them once. Verona beat them once. So Craig knows the recipe to beat them, and that's what you got to go back to. You can't settle for certain things against teams that are bigger than you. You've got to make adjustments. And I didn't think Craig made the best adjustments against Verona in the loss, and certainly they'll go back and look at the tape, and if they do play again, they'll make those adjustments.
Sun Prairie, kind of the team to watch this week. They got a chance to play spoiler. They're at Middleton tonight, if you're watching this on Thursday, and then Craig goes there on Saturday. Yeah, they're tied there with Parker for 4th. I don't see either team that's up there in the race stumbling against them, but you never know. And then I said February 10th is the Verona at Middleton game, and then you mentioned Middleton at Craig in the season finale. It would be pretty fun if everything was kind of right on the line there.
And that's what, for Craig, that's what you hope it comes down to. And as well as they've played, you know, to beat Verona and Middleton on the road and to sweep Parker, I mean, that says a lot about where they're at and what kind of team they have. But again, you get in tournament and it's that one game thing where you lay a stinker out there and you don't play well and you're out of it. And that's the one thing you got to stay away from is you can't rest on your laurels and say, okay, we won the Big 8, we're good to go, you know, we're the favorite. You got to come out and compete every night, and hopefully the Cougars can do that.
I trust Al Hughes, I think, as a senior to get them there. I wouldn't pick against her, I guess, down the stretch here. So should be interesting to watch in the coming weeks. The Rock Valley North pretty much has been decided before. Pretty much been decided.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Whitewater's going to win that.
Well, here's the thing. At least the thing of note, they could clinch already tonight. Again, if you're watching Thursday, with a win over Edgerton. You win that game, they get to the 13-0, I think, and that seals
and Edgerton
it.
coming off a nice win over Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know, a good crossover win, but Whitewater's in a different league than anybody else. I think you could take the best players on the rest of the league's teams and put them together and still not beat Whitewater. Whitewater's good. You know, they're finally number one in the state where I think they belong. And Adams Friendship got beat. The Whippets are going to be awful tough to beat because they're so diverse. I mean, there's so many ways they can hurt you, and they throw that full court press on you. And if you don't have guard play, you're in for a long night.
You mentioned Bigfoot in the South there, Rock Valley South. They were a game and a half behind Broadhead. Maybe you were thinking they could sneak into a conference title picture here. Lost to Edgerton, another 2 full games back. And the big game is Thursday night, Bigfoot at Broadhead. If Bigfoot has any chance to get right back in that race, they need to win on the road.
Well, and if it's the one thing that's become apparent in the last couple of weeks in the South is that Kylie Moe's the best player. And Kylie Moe has kind of started to take over with 2 weeks of big scoring games. I think she had 26 again the other night against Oregon. I know she lit up La Follette. She's trying to, I guess, fill that void left with Carly Moans taking her talents to Iowa. But I think Broadhead started to separate themselves in the South, and with Kylie Moe leading the way, a team that, you might not want to play in the tournament because they do have that experience of getting to state last year.
Yeah. Bigfoot, the Courier sisters, they put together a nice season. I don't know if we knew they were going to be this good, and they've been pretty solid. It'll be an interesting game Thursday night. And the other thing with Broadhead, and they did this Monday night against Oregon too, more than 30 trips to the free throw line. And the first time that those games start coming in and the box scores filter in via phone or email, you kind of go, okay, that one got out of hand and the refs must have been doing something crazy that night. Well, they've had a game where they had more than 50. They've had at least 2 others where they've had more than 30. They're getting, at some point, a team that knows how to get to the line wins that way, and it's not just a fluke night for officials.
Well, and Broadhead, if teams aren't bigger, and that was their biggest problem against Whitewater, is they were bigger than Broadhead. But Broadhead matches up well with teams that are about their size, and like I say, with Moe and Pickle, they got 2 good scorers, and they've got the experience of being there before, which they were last year.
Is it because they can drive to the basket, or they can get the ball inside when there's not as much height, or?
That's exactly it, is they can get to the rim. And, Moe is very good on the baseline, very good at drawing fouls, really good at, and she can hit the open shots. And a lot of times, if they put Sarah Schumacher, Whitewater, or Smith Terrera on her, then it was a little different for her to get shots off, and they got killed on the boards. I mean, they didn't handle the press well, and they got killed on the boards. And obviously last year with Carly Moans, rebounding wasn't a problem for them.
The Badger South, it's a 3-team race. Edgewood, Oregon, and Stoughton are all within a game, so that'll kind of be interesting down the stretch. In the Southern Lakes, kind of looked like Badger might fight for it there. They've kind of tumbled a little bit the last couple of weeks. Union Grove on top, 9-0, Waterford 8-1, and Badger's now 3 games back. But that to me is a team that, if they could get hot again like they kind of were to start the season, if they got hot at the end, maybe it could be a spoiler or a team that could ruin somebody's night in the tournament.
I got to believe, they're going to see them in the Janesville sectional along with Craig and Parker. So a team that shoots the ball pretty well, and a team that will get after you a little bit defensively. So again, the Badgers, when you look at that Craig and Parker sectional, the lower half that feeds into with Middleton and Verona in the upper half, going to be some real good games early on. I mean, I'm talking regionals and that's, you hate to see maybe at that level, but that's what you're going to see. It's
like a week and a half until the seeding meetings. They go, I think, like Valentine's Day. Is Valentine's Day on a Sunday? Is that weird? I don't know.
I don't even know.
Saturday? I don't know. Maybe it's the next day then, whatever that Sunday is.
I don't even know.
And then the brackets will come out that next week, and we'll break them down from there, I guess. It'll be fun tournament, especially that Division III sectional
with Friendship and Dodgeville and Whitewater, and like I say,
and obviously see where Craig and Parker shake out on their sides of the bracket as well. So just a couple weeks away before March Madness begins. We don't have to wait for March.
No, we don't. It's actually February. So
All right, we'll stay on the high school side of things and the postseason side of things. Conference tournaments coming up this weekend in both swim and wrestling, and that'll transition straight away into regionals, sectionals. I mean, it's almost that time, folks. Just kind of, I guess, your impression. Let's start on the swimming side of things. What you think you might see, or what you're looking out to see.
Well, when you look at the two Janesville teams, Craig and Parker, you know, how close are they? Well, they tied last Friday night, so that'll tell you. But Madison Memorial, from all indications, might have the finest high school swim team assembled in state history. They went to a tournament in Missouri with several top teams and finished second by half a point. So Madison Memorial is in a different category than anybody else in the state. The Cougars and Vikings, when you talk about a meet with not only Memorial, but you throw in West, who are ranked in the top 5 in the state, Middleton, Verona, you're just trying to get a place on the podium. You're trying to get in the top 6. So a kid like Peter Loftus, if he can get 3rd or 4th in the 200 IM, a great night for him. Parker with Amundsen and Walter and Perry and Gestrich, if they can get in a top 3 or 4 in the 200 free relay or the 400 free relay, you've had a good day. You look at somebody like Aaron Donegan on the girls' side that won a conference champ. That's rare. For Janesville swimmers, that's rare. So, you know, Eric Rhodes talked about it last Friday. Our goal still is to get on the platform in state, which means you finish in the top 6. And in a conference that is clearly the best conference in the state, if you can place at your conference meet, it bodes well for then the tournament competition.
Anybody else in the area that we should be kind of keeping our eye on?
Well, Whitewater certainly with John Zimders and Benny Liang. Benny Liang in the breaststroke, and Zimders all over the board in the ratings statewide, a number of events. So the Whippets don't have the depth probably to compete for a state title, but they certainly have individual talent that could score them a lot of points at the Division II meet. And certainly they have to go over to, I believe it's Platteville, to swim on Saturday. So it's kind of funny how the Southern Lakes Conference is going to southeast Wisconsin to compete in the conference swim meet, but that's probably just how it worked out. But, you know, there's 2 kids. Melton, certainly with Roberts, and a couple others, has some kids that are capable of doing good things at the Badger meet as well. So, like you said, let's get it rolling, and it starts on Saturday.
And I think with wrestling, you know, conference tournament's nice. You want to win a conference championship. Really gets kind of rolling. Regionals even sometimes, depending on who you are. It really takes till sectionals before you're really getting tested. But I mean, maybe just your overall thoughts.
Well, I think my first impression is hats off to Melton's wrestling program. My goodness, they've, with the dual meet title this year, I think that's 22 or 23 straight conference titles at some capacity, whether it's dual meet or the conference tournament. That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy good, and hats off to Pat Yauk and keeping that tradition going. But like you said, you know, Stoughton itching for another crack at Melton, and they're going to get it on Saturday. And obviously Dan Spildy will have his kids ready to go. And Pat, you know, even after 2 impressive wins over Stoughton and Evansville Albany, you know, wasn't a happy man. So, you know, Pat wants the best from his kids, and that's what he expects, and I'm sure that's what he'll get. But no, I mean, the conference tournament, it's nice to win, but you're still looking ahead. And for Janesville, you know, Craig and Parker not going to win a conference title. You know, the Cougars could certainly finish in the top 2 or 3, but then you start talking individually. You know, Eric Furseth undefeated on the season, Dylan Senior for Parker at 126, Aristide Serrano at 160 for Craig. So certainly kids capable of bringing home conference titles.
In the Rocky, you got to expect Evansville Albany to take that one. And then Elkhorn in the Lakes. I mean, all kinds of wrestling talent around this area this year. It's going to be really fun to watch this last month.
It's going to be, and this is, like you say, this is when things really start to heat up, because you go for bragging rights for your conference, and then that's when kids start to move weight classes. You know, you might go from 106 to 113, or you might move down, and so you get a good gauge kind of at the conference meet of where kids are going to line up the following week, which, you know, when you're trying to win a state team title and get to that tournament, you know, that's when you start doing the matchup thing, and that's what you'll see at the regional meet.
Sounds good. I think that will wrap up this week's episode of Extra Points. Give us a like on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. You know, tweet. Both of us are following games on Twitter all week, and we'll keep you up to date. So we'll see you here next week.
Go Badgers.